In The Boys, superheroes are treated like celebrities, with none more respected and celebrated than the superhero team known as the Seven. There's their narcissistic and psychotic leader, Homelander, who is basically an evil Superman. A-Train has super speed, the Deep can talk to fish, Queen Maeve has super strength, Black Noir can regenerate, and translucent skin can become invulnerable and invisible. The arrogant and corrupt heroes work for the megacorporation Vought International and care more about their public image and the perks being famous provides than the countless lives their superheroics could save. Season 1 of The Boys introduces Huey Campbell, whose girlfriend Robin is accidentally killed by being run through at super speed by a train. Huey is devastated by the loss and angered when A-Train faces zero repercussions. And that's when Huey meets Billy Butcher, leader of The Boys, a vigilante group looking to take down the Seven and their corrupt Vought International overlords. Butcher has a personal grudge against Homelander, as the superhero had assaulted and killed his wife Becca. Other members of the team include Mother's Milk and Frenchie. The Boys manage to apprehend and kill Seven-member Translucent while also learning more information to help expose Vought and the Seven. They learn that A-Train has a secret girlfriend named Popclaw and that he is taking a drug called Compound V to boost his powers. The Boys force Popclaw into becoming their informant, and she points them toward their Compound V supplier, the Triad. The Boys break into a Triad hideout and discover a superpowered test subject named Chemo, who has been dubbed the Female. The mute Chemo joins the Boys and develops a relationship with Frenchie. When A-Train discovers Popclaw's betrayal, he kills her. Meanwhile, Vought begins holding auditions for a new member to join the Seven following the retirement of a member known as Lamplighter. The optimistic and well-intentioned Annie, who can absorb electrical energy to grant her superhuman power, is hired to join the Seven as the superhero Starlight. But she quickly learns that her childhood heroes weren't quite as heroic as she thought they'd be. Vought forces her into wearing a revealing costume, and the Deep sexually assaults her, leading Annie to quickly become disillusioned with her new role. By chance, Annie ends up meeting Huey and they develop a romantic relationship. They motivate each other to stand up for their beliefs and bond over their shared hatred for the Seven. During a press conference, Annie breaks away from her planned script and publicly calls out Vought's behavior and her sexual assault at the hands of the Deep. In response, Vought fires the Deep from the Seven and forces him to become a hero in the much smaller market of Sandusky, Ohio. When Butcher finds out about Huey's relationship with Annie, he forces him to secretly exploit her for information on how the Boys can best take down the Seven. When Annie finds out about this, it fractures her relationship with Huey. Throughout the season, the Boys discover that Vought has been using Compound V on newborn babies to create superheroes that they could raise and profit from. The truth about her superpowered origins devastates Annie. Meanwhile, Homelander is using Compound V to create terrorists that the Seven could fight, boosting their importance and power. Butcher then introduces Huey to Curl Grace Mallory, founder of The Boys. Mallory had quit her mission to take down the Seven after the Lamplighter murdered her family. Despite Butcher's pleas for her help, Mallory refuses, but does reveal that Homelander has complicated romantic feelings for Vought executive Madeline Stillwell. She also warns Huey that Butcher doesn't actually care about the Boys or their mission to bring justice to the Seven and is purely driven by revenge against Homelander. Meanwhile, Homelander is discovering secrets of his own. He had been told by Stillwell and Vought that Becca Butcher had become pregnant with his child and died along with the baby during childbirth. Homelander confronts Dr. Vogelbaum, a former Vought scientist who raised Homelander after giving him his powers, and learns a shocking truth about Becca. Homelander goes to confront Stillwell about her betrayal, only to find Butcher is holding her hostage and covered her in explosives. Homelander reveals to Butcher that Becca is still alive and has given birth to his son, then kills Stillwell himself. Still driven by revenge, Butcher detonates the explosives. Homelander saves Butcher from the blast and delivers him to the secret home of Becca and her now 8-year-old son, Ryan. A shocked Becca and Butcher watch as Homelander introduces himself to his son, and Ryan's eyes grow red with the same powers as his father. In Season 2 of The Boys, Homelander begins training his son Ryan on his superhero abilities, much to the dismay of Becca. Meanwhile, Homelander is also butting heads with his boss, Vought CEO Stan Edgar, who places a new hero, Stormfront, in the Seven. It turns out Stormfront and Homelander are actually a perfect match, as Stormfront is secretly a white supremacist who uses her powers to support and promote her racist agenda. Homelander and Stormfront enter into a relationship, and the two begin bringing out the worst in each other. Elsewhere in the Seven, the Deep desperately wants to earn his spot back on the roster and joins the Scientology-like Church of the Collective to help rehab his image, which includes an arranged marriage to a woman named Cassandra. A-Train's Compound V addiction and withdrawals have weakened his powers, and he's kicked off the team, leading him to also join the church. Queen Maeve begins to feel guilty over her complicity in Vought's villainous actions and starts looking for ways to take down her employers. In an attempt to keep Maeve in line, Homelander publicly reveals her relationship with a woman named Elena. And then there's Annie, who continues to work with Huey to expose Vought's corruption. Annie leaks to the public that Vought is using Compound V to create superheroes. Elsewhere, the titular boys have become wanted fugitives after Butcher is blamed for Madeline Stillwell's death. They learn about a new superpowered terrorist on the loose and try to get help from their CIA contact, Raynor, but the agent's head explodes as she is murdered by an unknown superpowered villain. Butcher makes a deal with Mallory to capture the terrorist in exchange for her giving him information on Becca's new location. The boys then discover the terrorist is actually Kimiko's brother, Kenji. While attempting to bring Kenji to the CIA, Homelander and Stormfront attack, resulting in Stormfront killing Kenji and several other innocent civilians. Stan Edgar blames the deaths and destruction on Kenji, using the event as proof of the Seven's necessity, and blames Compound V on rogue scientists working for Stillwell. Mallory provides Butcher with Becca's location, but when he tries to rescue her, she refuses to leave without Ryan, whom Butcher doesn't accept. Mallory also helps the boys uncover the truth behind the origins of Stormfront. It turns out Stormfront is actually much older than she appears. She was the widow of Vought founder Frederick Vought, and the first to be injected with Compound V, making her the world's first superhero, then going by the name Liberty. Oh, and she also was a Nazi who socialized with Hitler. Annie then teams up with the boys as they follow a lead to the mysterious Sager Grove Psychiatric Hospital. There, the group discovers that Vought is attempting to stabilize Compound V in adult subjects. They uncover a bunch of incriminating evidence and even capture former Seven member Lamplighter, who was working at the hospital and overseeing the captive superpowered patients. The boys take Huey convinces Lamplighter to join him in infiltrating Vought to rescue Annie, but once inside, Lamplighter instead sets himself on fire to end his guilt. Despite this, Annie manages to break out of her cell and escapes with an assist from Maeve. Without Lamplighter as a witness, Butcher convinces Dr. Vogelbaum to testify against Vought. The boys and Mallory team up with Congresswoman Victoria Newman to take down Vought in court. But during the hearing, the mysterious superpowered assassin strikes again, exploding the heads of Vogelbaum and several other attendees. Huey and Annie then try to convince Maeve to testify against Vought, but she refuses. A-Train then helps them expose Stormfront's Nazi past to the public, believing Stormfront's removal from the Seven would help him rejoin. Homelander and Stormfront pay Becca and Ryan a visit and manipulate Ryan to leave his mother to join them. A distraught Becca begs for Butcher to rescue her son, which he reluctantly agrees to do. Secretly, Butcher makes a deal with Stan Edgar, promising to bring him Ryan. Edgar would get to use Ryan as a means to better control Homelander, while in return, Edgar would also exonerate the boys and allow Becca to be with Butcher. The boys devise a plan to save Ryan, setting off a sonic device to distract Homelander. After rescuing Ryan, Butcher has a change of heart and asks Mother's Milk to take Becca and Ryan to the CIA, betraying Stan Edgar. Stormfront attacks the group, but Annie and Kimiko team up to fight the racist supervillain. Maeve even arrives to help in the fight, but Stormfront manages to escape. Stormfront attacks Becca, prompting Ryan to use his laser eyes for the first time to save his mother. Ryan amputates all of Stormfront's limbs, but also accidentally leaves her mother with a fatal wound.
As Becca dies, Butcher promises that he will protect Ryan and ensure he grows up to be a hero, unlike his father, Homelander. And so, Butcher turns the child over to Mallory and the CIA to ensure his protection. Stan Edgar then holds a press conference blaming the attack at the Senate hearing on Stormfront and announcing that the production and release of Compound V is indefinitely paused, leading to the boys being cleared of all charges. Annie and A-Train are allowed back into the Seven, frustrating the Deep, who leaves the Church of the Collective. As the season comes to a close, Congresswoman Victoria Newman creates the Federal Bureau of Superhuman Affairs to keep superpowered individuals in check, with her first official employee being Huey. Unfortunately, and unbeknownst to Huey, it's revealed that Victoria is actually the villainous head-exploding Supe assassin, as she explodes the head of Church of the Collective leader Alistair Adana upon learning of his plans to expose dirt on dozens of superheroes. In Season 3 of The Boys, a year has passed and the titular team are now working as contract soldiers to take down rogue Supes under the leadership of Victoria Newman's Bureau of Superhero Affairs. Mother's Milk has grown tired of Butcher's violent and erratic methods and leaves the team to help co-parent his daughter in peace. Meanwhile, Butcher is still mourning Becca and is struggling to connect with Ryan, blaming him for Becca's death despite his best efforts to forgive the innocent child. Unfortunately, Huey soon discovers that his boss, Victoria, is actually the villainous head-exploding Supe assassin. And to complicate things even further, while looking into Victoria's past, Huey discovers that she is actually the secret adopted daughter of Vought CEO Stan Edgar. To help get over the public scandal of Stormfront being an evil Nazi that Homelander was dating, Vought names Starlight as the new co-leader of the Seven. During a televised press conference, Homelander loses his public veneer of sanity and lashes out about his persecution under Vought's leadership and how he is the savior of the world and should be treated like it. Despite fearing that showing his true self to the world would lead to losing the public support, it instead only serves to make Homelander's fanbase of incel white men more devoted and enraged. Much to MM's dismay, that fanbase also includes his daughter's new stepfather. Feeling more powerful than ever, Homelander threatens mass genocide if Starlight doesn't fall in line and pretend to be his new girlfriend, while also making sure his loyal lapdog, the Deep, is reinstated in the Seven. Despite her warning, Starlight's ex-boyfriend, Supersonic, becomes the newest member of the Seven and promises to protect her from Homelander's wrath, which only leads to Homelander brutally murdering him as a threat to Starlight.
Homelander then aligns with Victoria to use her political platform to condemn Stan's actions and publicly expose Vought's corruption under his leadership. Stan Edgar is then ousted as Vought's CEO, and Homelander gives Victoria Compound V to use on her own daughter as payment. Homelander then helps elevate the power-hungry and desperate publicist Ashley as the new CEO of Vought, knowing that she would be completely under his control. The Deep is then tasked to assassinate the running mate of the leading candidate for the United States presidency, clearing the way for Victoria to be on the ticket for vice president. Meanwhile, A-Train becomes furious and dismayed over a Supe named Blue Hawk using excessive force against African Americans. When A-Train forces him to publicly apologize during a press conference, Blue Hawk instead becomes enraged and attacks the crowd, injuring and paralyzing A-Train's brother. A-Train gets revenge by brutally killing Blue Hawk, but then suffers a heart attack while using his super speed. A-Train survives, ironically, thanks to a transplant using Blue Hawk's heart. Elsewhere within the Seven, Queen Maeve is secretly working with Billy Butcher to search for a way to take down Homelander for good. They become friends with benefits, and Maeve gives Butcher several vials of V24, nicknamed Temp, a new vat drug that temporarily grants superpowers. Maeve also points Butcher toward a mysterious weapon that could be powerful enough to kill Homelander, as it had previously been used to kill America's first and most popular superhero, Soldier Boy, 40 years prior. Mother's Milk rejoins the boys in their quest to uncover the truth behind Soldier Boy's death, as Soldier Boy's reckless heroics had led to the death of MM's grandfather. The boys' mission leads them to Soldier Boy's former superhero team, Payback, which included many other Supes, including Black Noir, that just so happened to go on missions with the CIA, led by none other than Grace Mallory. Mallory tells the boys that she led Payback on a mission in Russia that resulted in the team being defeated and Soldier Boy missing, and presumably killed by a mysterious Russian superweapon. And so, Butcher leads the boys to Russia to investigate and find the weapon. Huey and Butcher both take Temp V to develop superpowers to aid in their mission, with Butcher gaining super strength, durability, and laser vision, and Huey gaining strength, durability, and the power to teleport. The boys infiltrate a Russian base and discover Soldier Boy alive and captured. Awakened and freed from his decades-long slumber, a confused Soldier Boy unleashes a powerful radioactive energy blast that strikes Kimiko, critically injuring her and removing her powers. As Soldier Boy flees, the boys realize that he is in fact the superweapon that has the power to defeat Homelander. As the boys hunt for the missing and volatile Soldier Boy, they discover that he was always antagonistic and abusive to his payback teammates. So they sold him out on behalf of Stan Edgar to the Russians. During the Russian attack, after realizing the betrayal, Soldier Boy brutally beat up, disfigured, and brain-damaged Black Noir. During Soldier Boy's captivity, the Russians conducted decades' worth of experiments on him that have left him radioactively unstable. Despite the danger Soldier Boy poses and MM's strong desire for revenge, Butcher and Huey agree to work with the powerful Supe to kill his entire payback team, in exchange for Soldier Boy helping them kill Homelander. Starlight is dismayed by Huey's actions, recklessly taking Temp and aligning with a dangerous and antagonistic killer. This inspires her to drop her Supe name and live as Annie, resigned from the Seven, and publicly condemn Vought, Homelander, and Soldier Boy's corruption. She also secretly films and broadcasts Homelander going on a rant and confessing to all of his past villainy. In her last act at Vought, Annie steals Compound V and gives it to Kimiko to restore her powers and heal her injuries. Annie also discovers that Temp V will kill its users after several doses. Butcher ignores this warning and continues taking Temp to aid in his mission to kill Homelander, although he does force Huey to stop taking the drug to protect him. As the volatile Soldier Boy seeks to further uncover the corruption that led to his betrayal, he discovers that Homelander is in fact his biological son, born out of Vought's research into Soldier Boy's own genetics. When Homelander learns of this and realizes Black Noir has long known and withheld this secret from him, Homelander spitefully kills his Seven teammate. In the end, the boys, Annie, and Maeve all team up to defeat Homelander once and for all. As Soldier Boy confronts Homelander for being weak and undeserving of his family legacy, he discovers the Supe has found and reconciled with his biological son, Ryan. Soldier Boy ignores the well-being of the child and attacks Homelander, putting Ryan in danger. Valuing Ryan's safety over his desire for revenge against Homelander, Butcher intervenes to save Ryan and inadvertently spare his arch-rival. As Homelander, Butcher, and Soldier Boy all face off, Ryan sides with Homelander because he offers him unconditional love, while Butcher has only pushed him away as a reminder of the death of Becca. During the brutal face-off, Maeve arrives to fight Homelander, resulting in her losing an eye. Huey helps power up Annie, finally accepting her inner strength and realizing she doesn't need powers to be a hero. As Annie uses her powers against Soldier Boy, he begins to overheat and nears a radioactive explosion that would kill everyone. And so, Maeve sacrifices herself to tackle Soldier Boy out of a window. As the pair plummet to the ground, Soldier Boy explodes and both Supes are presumed dead. Amidst the chaos, Homelander flees with Ryan. Unbeknownst to the public, Maeve is still alive, but the blast has removed her powers, allowing her to live a normal life in peace with her girlfriend. Meanwhile, a weakened Soldier Boy is captured and imprisoned by Grace Mallory. As the season comes to a close, a protester calling out Homelander's evil actions accidentally strikes Ryan, leading to Homelander using his powers to publicly murder the man. But instead of being met with horror, the crowd cheers for their god, with none more enthralled by Homelander than his corrupted son, Ryan. And that's everything you need to know from the first 3 seasons of The Boys. But Season 4 of The Boys will also continue the story started in Season 1 of the spin-off series Gen V. Season 1 of Gen V is set at the superhero college Godulkin University, or GodU. Marie Monroe is a new student who has the ability to control blood with her mind upon first hitting puberty years prior. Marie's powers unexpectedly developed, leading her to accidentally killing her own parents, forcing her and her sister to be separated in foster care. Now, Marie is attending GodU on a scholarship sponsored by Congresswoman Victoria Newman. At GodU, Marie makes fast friends with her roommate Emma, who has the power to shrink or grow her body by purging or binging food. Marie also meets Luke, aka Golden Boy, a super strong and pyrokinetic Supe who is the most popular guy on school and on track to become the newest member of the Seven upon graduation. Luke's best friend is Andre, who has magneticism manipulation abilities. And Luke's girlfriend is Kate, who can control minds by touching her target. And then there's Jordan, a gender shifter who can fire energy blasts in their female form and are indestructible in their male form. Unfortunately, as Marie acclimates to her new school, Luke appears to have a sudden psychotic break, killing his mentor before flying into the sky and exploding. All of Luke's friends are shocked and devastated by his actions and begin looking into his death.
During their investigation, Andre and Kate develop romantic feelings for each other, though both feel guilty due to their love for the deceased Luke. The friends eventually discover that God-U is actually home of a secret Vought research facility known as the Woods, which conducts various experiments on Supes, including the development of a Supe virus that could kill anyone with powers. The friends free Luke's younger brother Sam from the Woods, and he soon begins dating Emma. The friends then learn that the Woods also conducted experiments on Luke and Sam, giving Luke some of his brother's super strength while forcing Sam to remain imprisoned and experimented on. Every time Luke remembered the torture his brother was forced to endure, his memory was erased by his girlfriend, Kate, who had been mentored by God-U's Dean, Shetty. Shetty had previously helped Kate control the powers that destroyed her childhood and pushed her entire family away. As Luke's mind became more broken with every memory wipe, he grew more unstable, leading to his explosion and death. Andre and the others are shocked and devastated by Kate's betrayal. When Kate discovers that Shetty had been involved in the development of the Supe virus and had been manipulating Kate to serve her own treacherous motives, Kate kills the Dean. Kate then teams up with a similarly vengeful Sam to stage a riot at God-U, exposing the virus publicly, releasing all of the Woods captives and viciously slaughtering all of the non-Supe humans at God-U. Marie, Andre, Emma, and Jordan are forced to battle their friends to thwart their violent campus rampage. In the fight, Marie blows up Kate's arm to protect Jordan from being mind-controlled. Amidst the chaos, Homelander arrives to put an end to the fighting, confronting Marie and her allies for their disloyalty to Supes. Marie, Andre, Emma, and Jordan are all subdued and imprisoned in a new secret research hospital, and publicly blamed for the massacre at God-U, with Kate and Sam being hailed as heroes. As the season comes to a close, Billy Butcher arrives at the ruins of the Woods in search of the Supe-killing virus. But unfortunately for Butcher, the duplicitous Victoria Newman has gotten her hands on the virus first. In Season 4 of The Boys, Homelander has finally achieved all of the power he has ever desired, yet is left feeling unfulfilled due to everyone around him acting as terrified yes-men. While training his son to follow in his footsteps, Homelander also begins to worry that he will soon become
irrelevant as he has finally begun to show signs of aging. To refill the ranks of the dwindling Seven, Homelander recruits Sister Sage, the smartest person in the world and the only person who will be honest with him. Homelander appoints Sage as the new CEO of Vought, demoting Ashley to little more than a human mascot. The pair then recruit the alt-right Supe media personality Firecracker, who holds a personal vendetta against Starlight for bullying her when they were younger. And to cover up Black Noir's death at the hands of Homelander, Vought hires a Supe actor to secretly replace him. As Homelander faces trial for publicly murdering one of his own protesters, Sage comes up with a plan to turn the tide of the public back to his favor. With this plan, Homelander forces Atrain, Black Noir, and the Deep to brutally murder a group of his supporters known as Home Teamers, which includes Todd, the ex-boyfriend of MM's ex-wife, Monique. When Homelander is officially declared not guilty, a mob of protesters known as Starlighters, inspired by Annie's true heroics, stage a revolt. Sage infiltrates the Starlighters and stokes a riot with the Home Teamers, during which Atrain plants the bodies of Todd and his fellow superfans. And so, the Starlighters are framed as violent killers, leading to the public beginning to support Homelander once again. In the aftermath, Atrain feels guilty about all of the terrible acts that he's been forced to commit at Homelander's command, and so he gives proof to Annie about the real cause of the Home Teamers' deaths in an attempt to atone for his sins. Atrain then tells Ashley of his actions, forcing her to become his accomplice. When Sage discovers that someone leaked the evidence, the Deep is demoted due to being in charge of Vought's crime division, leaving him to commiserate with his octopus lover Ambrosius. To help cover up Atrain's role as the leaker, Ashley frames her ex-boyfriend, Vought news anchor Cameron Coleman, who is then killed by the Seven. Elsewhere, when Robert Singer is elected President of the United States, Homelander plots to have Singer assassinated so that his secret Supe Vice President Victoria Newman will be elevated to Commander-in-Chief. To thwart this plan, the boys attempt to assassinate Victoria before she can enact any of her dangerous policies. Unfortunately, the team are thwarted by Victoria's newly superpowered daughter Zoe, and by the revelation that Victoria's powers not only allow her to blow up heads, but also make her completely invulnerable. Amidst these personal conflicts, the boys learn that Billy Butcher's abuse of Tem V has resulted in him having mere months left to live.
Butcher begins seeing visions of his late wife, Becca, encouraging him to act more heroically in his fight against evil. But his atonement is too little too late. With the boys no longer trusting him and installing MM as their new leader, Huey learns that his father, Hugh Sr., has been left comatose after having a stroke. Huey's estranged mother, Daphne, returns to help care for Hugh, leading to the mother and son beginning to reconcile. Knowing that his father will soon die, a desperate Huey turns to a train and asks him to acquire Compound V, all manufactured doses of which are stored in Homelander's apartment. While the V saves Hugh's life and grants him the power to phase through objects, he also becomes confused and erratic, accidentally killing several innocent people. Huey comes to the devastating realization that the best thing for him to do is to kill his own father, putting him out of his misery and preventing any further bloodshed. Frenchie and Kimiko realize that despite their love for each other, they are too broken individually to ever be together romantically, and so Kimiko encourages Frenchie to pursue a romance with a man named Colin. But this burgeoning relationship violently ends when Colin discovers that Frenchie had been responsible for the deaths of his entire family years prior when he worked for the Russian mafia. Feeling ashamed and guilt-ridden, Frenchie chooses to turn himself over to the police and refuses visitation from Kimiko. Elsewhere, as Homelander continues his training of his son, he also forbids Ryan from contacting Butcher. Despite Ryan's dismay upon learning of Butcher's terminal condition, when Homelander stages a public act of heroics, Ryan accidentally kills his stunt coach, leaving him traumatized. Butcher stages a secret meeting with Ryan, consoling him over the accidental killing and encouraging him to become a true hero for the good of the public. Unlike the egomaniacal and power-hungry Homelander, when Homelander discovers this secret meeting, he angrily confronts Ryan, leading to his son running away in fear. This sends Homelander into an emotional spiral and a complete mental breakdown. As Homelander attempts to mend his relationship with his son, he also proclaims to the Seven that they will no longer be satisfied as celebrity superheroes, but instead will become wrathful gods. Meanwhile, Butcher's old friend and CIA contact Joe Kessler fears that Ryan is extremely dangerous and warns that if the boy can't be turned to the good side, he needs to be killed alongside Homelander. Annie continues trying to be herself, despite the world only viewing her worth as Starlight. After Annie's betrayal of the Seven, Annie becomes inspired to finally embrace her role as a political symbol for those rebelling against Homelander. Firecracker spurs her audience of red-pilled incels to further hate the Starlighters and reveals all of Annie's personal secrets on live television, including the fact that she had an abortion. Annie snaps, publicly beating Firecracker, which in turn plays right into Sage's trap of painting her as a villain. Firecracker then begins taking drugs to produce breast milk, which she supplies to Homelander in order to win his favor over Sage. Feeling fed up with Homelander's ego, Sage seduces the Deep and tasks him with lobotomizing her, as the process temporarily dulls her intelligence, allowing herself to feel stress-free and unburdened. When Ambrosius discovers this affair, she confronts the Deep, who then angrily breaks her tank, accidentally killing her beloved. Butcher finally tells the boys about the soup-killing virus that Victoria had retrieved from Godalkin University, and so they plot to retrieve it from her to use against Homelander. They have Victoria's adoptive father, Stan Edgar, released from prison to aid in their mission, and he leads the boys to his family farm, where Victoria's lover and Zoe's father, Samir, has been working to replicate the virus. Unfortunately, upon reaching the farm, the boys discover that it has become overrun by violently superpowered animals that had been accidentally infected by Compound V. Samir reveals that only one dose of the virus remains, which the boys are forced to use on the animals in order to save their own lives. Though the Samir is killed in the chaos, secretly, thanks to Kessler's encouragement, Butcher fakes Samir's death to force him into replicating the virus. Samir warns Butcher that a virus strong enough to kill Homelander would likely mutate to infect and kill every single Supe on the planet. Kessler encourages Butcher to pursue the virus anyway, leading Butcher to finally remember that Kessler is long dead, and the man he sees in front of him is just a Compound V-induced figment of his imagination. transformation, the devil on his shoulder to Becca's angel. Butcher ignores Kessler and reveals the truth about the virus to the boys, leaving Annie calling it a soup genocide. Butcher insists that he has no interest in using the virus, re-earning the boys' trust and being placed back in charge as their leader, though secretly he has Grace Mallory secure the release of Frenchie from prison to help Samir complete the virus. When the boys learn that President Singer is going to be assassinated on January 6th, Homelander sends the Deep and Black Noir to kill them all. Fortunately, a train intervenes to save the boys, though his cover as the mole within the Seven is blown, forcing him into hiding from Homelander's wrath. As the boys warn Singer of his imminent danger and offer their protection, a villainous soup known as the Shifter captures Annie and poses as her, seducing Huey to infiltrate their ranks, plotting to assassinate the president and frame Starlight. The oblivious Huey proposes to Shifter Annie, unaware of the danger his real girlfriend is in. Meanwhile, after completing the virus, Samir injects it into Kimiko's leg and flees. Frenchie amputates the leg to stop the spread and save Kimiko's life. While working to extract the virus from the severed leg, Frenchie and Kimiko finally decide to stop running away from their true feelings and profess their love for each other.
Elsewhere, Ryan begins questioning the oppressive culture that Homelander is trying to instill in the country and publicly denounces his father and VA. Butcher proudly watches Ryan before collapsing and being hospitalized due to the V tumor in his head. When Homelander discovers that Ryan has developed a secret kinship with Butcher, he angrily lashes out at his son, scaring him away and sending Homelander into a further emotional spiral. The erratic Homelander exposes Victoria as a soup on national television, then threatens the life of her daughter, Zoe, to force her into publicly backing all of his actions. Ryan races to visit Butcher in the hospital, but while there, his surrogate father and Grace Mallory both try to convince Ryan to help them kill Homelander, as he may be the only soup powerful enough to do so. Angered by feeling used by yet another father figure, Ryan flees, shoving Mallory out of the way and accidentally killing her in the process. Meanwhile, the other boys successfully intervene to save Singer from assassination. Annie breaks free from her binds to join the boys and kill the Shifter. Feeney then successfully extracts the virus from Kimiko's leg. Victoria, tired of living in fear under Homelander's dictatorship, agrees to help the boys bring the villain down in exchange for the protection of her daughter. Unfortunately, Butcher then arrives, the death of Mallory having driven him to fully give in to the violent urges of Kessler. Embracing his full powers for the first time, Butcher kills Victoria and takes the virus, willing to begin a full-on soup genocide to the horror of the other boys. Elsewhere, Homelander orders the remaining members of the Seven to slaughter anyone who has ever spoken or acted against him. Fearing for her life, Ashley injects herself with Compound V in the hopes of gaining powers to protect herself. As the season comes to a close, Sage reveals to Homelander that she had concocted a master plan, secret even from him. After finding out that Victoria had been a part of his assassination plot, Singer had angrily told the boys that he wished her dead. And now that Butcher has killed Victoria, Sage has Singer framed for the murder and ousted as president. The Speaker of the House, Stephen Calhoun, is thus named the President of the United States and is happy to act as a willing puppet for Homelander to bend to his will. And in another victory for Homelander, he finally uncovers the location of his cryogenically frozen father, Soldier Boy. In the end, Huey, Emma, Frenchie, and Kimiko are all apprehended by Homelander's forces, though Annie manages to escape. Meanwhile, Butcher heads off with the soup-killing virus, ready to end the battle against Homelander by any means necessary. But the story before the final season of The Boys doesn't end there. In Season 2 of Genv, Sister Sage engages in a relationship with Godulkin University's founder, Thomas Godulkin. Unfortunately, as Godulkin increases his power, he plots to kill the weaker soup students at his school in order to leave only the strongest soups alive for supremacy on Earth. Sage grows tired of Godulkin's Homelander-like ego and abandons him to his own devices. Students at Godulkin like Marie, Emma, and Jordan stand up against Godulkin's villain, while even former enemies Sam and Kate become inspired by the message of the rebellious Starlighters to join the fight against not just Godulkin, but also Homelander and his oppressive rule. In the end, Godulkin is killed, while Marie, Emma, Jordan, Kate, Sam, and Marie's sister Annabeth are forced to go on the run, eventually being found by Annie and A-Train, who officially welcome them to the Resistance.
Thanks for watching this video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for more content like this, and why not check out this recommended video while you're at it.